Hi everybody, I'm Noah Schwartz. Welcome into Blunation, your home for a recap of all this week's biggest sports headlines, both with the Blugolds and elsewhere. Let's get started. We start off with the Blugold Football team, who were in action on Saturday for their homecoming game. After an ugly loss to UW Stout the previous week, the Blugolds came into the matchup with their work cut out for them, as they had to face off against the number 3 team in the country and the UW Whitewater Warhawks. Despite the long odds, the Blugolds came out firing, as they even led Whitewater 14-7 after the first quarter. The game was still a game at halftime, too, as Eau Claire only trailed by a touchdown by a score of 24-17. Unfortunately, a rough second-half performance and a couple of miscues at the line of scrimmage sealed the deal, as the Blugolds lost 45-24, dropping them down to 1-4 on the season. They'll be back in action next week at home against UW-La Crosse. After sweeping UW Stout to improve to 4-0 in the WIAC, the Blugold Volleyball team was back in action in a triangular against the University of Chicago and Elmhurst University. Once again, the 13th-ranked Blugolds proved that they belong in the conversation of the best teams in the country, as they swept the University of Chicago 3-0 and beat Elmhurst 3-2. The pair of victories improves the team's record to 16-4 on the season. They'll get underway in their next matchup at McPhee in just under an hour against St. Scholastica. And it's good news for the Blugold women's golf team. The WIAC Women's Golf Championship presented by Culver's took place at Reedsburg Country Club this weekend. For the Blugolds, senior Lexi Mead won the individual championship, shooting a score of 233 over the course of the tournament. Mead is the 13th Blugold to win an individual golf championship and the program's first since 2014. As a team, the Blugolds finished 4th overall. We congratulate Mead and the rest of the team on a great season. Now on to pro sports, where in the NFL, the Carolina Panthers have fired head coach Matt Rule after a 1-4 start to the season. Rule was in his 3rd season as coach of the Panthers, where he had amassed an 11-27 record over that time. Panthers owner David Tepper cited an inability to, quote, get over the hump as a reason for Rule's firing. Steve Wilkes will take over as the team's interim head coach. Now on to baseball and the NL wildcard series between the New York Mets and the San Diego Padres. The Padres won the new series format of the wildcard in 3 games, but that's not the big story here. The story is that before the bottom of the 6th inning, Mets manager Buck Showalter called for a foreign substance check on Padres pitcher Joe Musgrove. Umpires did not find any substances, but as ESPN's Brian Kenny and others point out, Musgrove's spin rate on his fastball was considerably higher than what it usually is. Musgrove was also hesitant to give a straight answer at the post-game press conference. And lastly tonight, the Board of Directors for Hockey Canada, the governing body for the country's Olympic and national teams, has resigned. The move comes after months of fallout over the mishandling of multiple sexual assault allegations by the organization. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has even condemned the organization publicly. Last week, a number of major sponsors, including Tim Hortons, Scotiabank, Canadian Tire, and Chevrolet, pulled their funding from the organization. Scotiabank released a statement saying it could not be associated with the organization if it refused to change. It is unclear what comes next for the organization and its teams. The NHL and the Canadian government are still investigating the organization's handling of the claims. And now it's time to bring back an old Blunation favorite.